Start off with the district councilman. Let's give it up for your 5th district councilman, Dave Werpel.
Thanks, Mayor, and thanks everybody for coming out. I really don't have a lot. I don't like to talk all that much, believe it or not. I'd rather listen to what the residents have to say. As you know, after COVID, we set up the Capital Improvements Board to take care of the bigger projects we now have, and we've had some scheduled in the 5th that have been delayed because of the cost coming in, but they're going to get done. I do know that we have some projects coming with some sidewalks yet this fall, and a couple of other minor things that we're doing, cleaning up a couple neighborhoods, but I want to thank the mayor and his staff because, and I'm not just saying this to kiss their rear end, every time I call for something, they're there either that day or the next day getting something done. I had an issue over on Alexander today, and I called my district supervisor, Jeff Rutherford, and he was there within 15 minutes and took care of it. So can you guys give it up for the mayor and his staff?
All right, thanks, Councilman Werpel. I want to remind everybody, Mayor's Night Out, we do this 6 times a year. It's generated, the length of it is generated by your written questions. So you fill out a questionnaire right now. We got Alex right over here with the questionnaire forms. So just fill it out, you turn it into Alex, she gives it to Eileen, we read off your question. If we have 10 different questions about the same topic, we're not going to read all 10 of them. We'll summarize them and then answer them that way. I'm surrounded by my department heads, so if I don't know the answer myself, which is often, I go to the department head who knows the issue much more in details than I do. So usually we could handle most anything you have right on spot. We'll go ahead and introduce the department heads, starting with Carmen over there.
Hi, Carmen Paniagua, Housing Authority.
Sharon Daniels, College Bound and Human Resources.
Jim Talon, Park Department.
Jeff Long, Police Department.
Jeff Smith, Fire Department.
Tanisha Greenwell, Controller's Office.
Chris Campbell, Information Technology.
Ann Anderson, Economic Development.
Mylon Krasinski, Port Authority.
Kevin Smith, Corporation Counsel.
Phil Talon, Chief of Staff.
Mark Gordish, Engineering Department.
Ron Novak, Environmental Management.
Brian Poland, City Planning.
Jeff Rutherford, Public Works.
Jaime Prieto, Water.
Jack Smith, Sewer Maintenance.
Matt Muta, Hammond Sanitary District.
Mark McLaughlin, Water.
Chris Sacalaris, Legal Aid. Africa Harbor, Planning and Development.
Nicholas Farrell, Code Enforcement.
All right, so there you go. So we have professional staff all here. I want to start off and thank the elected officials that are in attendance. So if you don't mind, first off, our state representative Carolyn Jackson. Good to see you, Representative. When I say our state rep, Carolyn literally represents the entire city, right, Representative? Oh, yeah. It's called gerrymandering. Sorry about that. Anyway, your host, Councilman, 5th District Councilman Dave Werpel. Councilman at Large, Dan Spitali. Thank you very much, Councilman. Hammond's 4th District Councilman, Bill Emerson. And Hammond Councilwoman at Large, Janet Venez. Thank you very much. I want to thank Principal Eisman for letting us use Jefferson Elementary School, and of course, the Superintendent of Schools, Scott Miller. It's a great partnership we have between the schools and the Civil City, and we appreciate being able to use the school buildings because a lot of people don't get an opportunity to come in and see what's going on in the school city, including your mayor. So it's nice to be able to come in and hold meetings in the buildings that we paid for. So thank you again, Superintendent Miller and Principal Eisman. So I wanted to start off and remind you again how we do this. We read off the written question. So if the question's about a code enforcement issue, if you have a question about that topic, raise your hand, and then we'll have Sharon come over to you or Eileen will come over to you, and they'll hold the microphone up to your face, It's not because I can't hear you, it's because we're being filmed live on Gohama TV right now. So we want the audience to be able to hear you as well. So if you'll please cooperate with us in that regard. Okay, it seems like we're getting feedback. Yeah, can somebody do something about that? It's a little rough. Okay. All right, thanks. Eileen, how you doing?
Hi, Mayor. I'm good. How are you?
Good. I'm getting some feedback. Okay. So we got 4 questions last I checked.
Yes.
So we should be out of here.
We're up to 8 now, but quite a few are repetitive. So.
Okay, cool. So let's go ahead and get started.
One of the
Eileen.
main concerns
How you doing,
is-
by the way? Special Events Coordinator. What? Hi, yeah.
Thank you.
So Eileen, what do we have coming up special events wise?
So we have our Veterans Day Parade that's happening Saturday, November 5th at 10 a.m.
Okay, can we stop real quick? Could we do me a favor and go out for the Veterans Day Parade and show honor to the vets? Just go out and stand on the side of the road. Somebody will throw you candy. We're honored to have this Veterans Day Parade. It's the only one in the entire area. Everybody loves veterans, and sometimes we have more people in the parade than on the side of the road, and it's sort of embarrassing. We moved it to the 5th District on purpose because we wanted a good reception, and we're gonna make sure we put the word out, right, Phil, about blanketing everybody and reminding you that the parade's coming. If you can just go stand on the side of the road, clap for them when they go by. We have vets from all over Northwest Indiana as part of this parade, and Chicago. So again, on the date on that?
November 5th, Saturday, November 5th.
It's the
starting
week
at
before
10 a.m.
Veterans Day, right?
Correct, the week before.
Okay, and before Election Day too, so should be interesting. All right, and then what else we have coming up?
We have our annual tree lighting ceremony that's happening on Black Friday, Friday, November 26th.
At City Hall?
Correct, in front of City Hall.
Okay.
And that'll begin actually at 5 o'clock because we have some fun things that are going to be happening prior to the tree lighting ceremony inside of City Hall, as well as we have some reindeer friends that are joining us, live reindeer.
Wow, that's great. And that's
And
pretty
then
much-
we wrap up the year with our Hammond Holiday Parade, which is going to be Saturday, December 3rd at 10 a.m.
In normal route, right down
Correct.
the boulevard?
Yes, normal route.
Awesome, thanks Eileen.
You're welcome.
Okay, so she's got something going all the time, and then her life is about to be taken over, believe it or not. When we get back from our break, she'll be neck deep in Festival of the Lakes the rest of the year until we have the festival. It starts pretty soon, so anyway, thanks. Why don't we go ahead and get started, Eileen?
So we have quite a few concerns regarding the 25-mile speed limit on Northcott, and how do we enforce that?
Okay, 25-mile-an-hour speed limit on Northcott. Do we have a block? Are we talking over by the bridge?
7900 block of Northcott.
All right, how you doing, Chief Jeff? Good, why don't you grab a microphone? Sounds like something you're gonna want to weigh in on. 25-mile-an-hour speed limit on Northcott. That's accurate, I imagine, right?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay, that's pretty slow. I mean, when you consider that's a through street, right? So I imagine cars are going a lot faster than that.
Yeah, there's actually a stop sign there at Beverly also to slow them down, but we've had issues with that stop sign for years.
One of those stop
so,
signs,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Probably one of the more run stop signs in the city of Hammond. Yeah.
I know the police can't be everywhere, but to come at 2 in the afternoon or 10 in the morning, that's not when it's going on. It's from 3:30 to 6:30, 7:30 to 9:30 at night. They're racing under that viaduct. I got a blue Mustang with a white hood. Dave has been helping me. I've tried to get his plate number. He goes so fast, he turns that corner, he opens up that engine. He's got to be doing 60 down 177.
So are you saying they go underneath the highway?
Viaduct and
then along the service road?
And then go down 177. And
Gotcha.
it's residential.
Yeah.
And they're
That's-
doing 60 miles an hour.
Yeah.
From Northcott to Columbia.
I know exactly what
It's
you're talking about.
bad.
What were the time frames again, ma'am? 3:30 to 6:30 and 7:30 to 9:30?
And 7:30, 9:30 at night. And I got a couple characters, 2:30 Saturday morning. I don't know if they're coming home from the bar or are they bartenders, but it's every Saturday night.
Okay.
Between 2 and 3. We got a couple racing down Northcott. There's a yellow hot rod, an orange one.
You know, can you take a look at those radar? One of the good things about your mayor traveling all over the state is I see how other cities are dealing with issues like this. And you know, red light cameras and speed cameras aren't legal in Indiana, and that's fine. But you know what I've seen is like detectors that hit your car and they tell you how fast you're going, and it like flashes red, and sometimes it even flashes
the
like it's
signs in the street.
I
I
mean,
worked for
we
a
would all
state
know that you're not getting a ticket from it, but I don't know. And
No, and-
sometimes when the officers, you guys put up those, you know, those things that say slow down and stuff like that, I don't know.
Yeah, unfortunately, we've had a couple on Holman. Unfortunately, they work for a little bit of time until people figure out that they're not getting a ticket, and then
Right.
it doesn't work.
I
So
don't go out that often at night. I'm the corner house. If any officer wants to park in my driveway and nail that guy with the noise, feel free.
Okay.
I mean, I have no problem with that. I'm at
Could you do me a favor?
7704.
You're going to be, could you go up and introduce yourself to the chief after? That's Chief
I haven't-
Long?
This is the first one I've been to. Mr. Warpole told me
Good.
about him. He's been helping me
But could you do me a
out, so-
favor? Could you and
Thank you,
Councilman
Dave,
Warple?
very much. I appreciate it.
Could you and Councilman Warple and get together with Chief Long and you guys could figure out a little
I will
strategy?
be happy to do that, yes.
Thanks.
All right.
Thanks, Chief. We get these a lot, obviously. People drive fast and people do blow stop signs. And you're right that the police department has a lot of issues to deal with, but that is definitely part of their job.
Be everywhere, but I don't even let my
You're very sweet
grandchildren
about
play outside anymore.
You're very sweet about it. I appreciate that.
All right.
We'll follow it up, I promise. And if you can get together with Councilman Warple and Chief Long, we'll put a strategy together to help you out.
Thanks.
Thank you. Speeders. Last time I was in this district, we were talking about Bering. Well, it wasn't even this district, it was Bering, and we did, at the complaint of one of the residents on Bering, she said cars were going 50, 60, and we put speed strips out there, and I think we worked with the resident, and she's not here, so hopefully she got some satisfaction, but that's what Mayor's Night Out is all about, so. Yes, sir, hi. All right, we'll be right with you with the microphone. No, it's okay. She's coming with the microphone. Thanks.
The question I have has to do with the speed bumps. I know Hammond does not allow speed bumps, but at the Skyway, they have these grooves built in or edged into the road, which gives you a clue that
That's
you're
a good
going too
idea.
fast. Have you ever thought of trying that?
That's okay. So this is the fear about speed bumps. Okay, we had Mayor's Night Out a few of them ago. There was a lady, she really wanted speed bumps bad. She showed up to a few Mayor's Nights in a row. Let's say I gave in to her and I gave her a speed bump on Bering. And then somebody in Robertsdale was like, hey, I could use a speed bump here. And then of course we got to make that person happy. And then before you know it, they have Carmel as the land of roundabouts. Hammond would be the land of speed bumps. And I know that's real hard on the snowplow drivers and things of that nature. So we're careful.
But I'm talking about the group.
I agree with you. I think that's way better. Somebody that's been working in the streets a lot longer than I have is Gary Gleason. I see him over there. Hey, Gary, did you hear the gentleman's recommendation? I know you hate, by the way, this is Gary Gleason, who is the head of Department of Public Works, and he announced his retirement. He's only got a couple months left after decades with the city of Hammond. Could you give him a big round of applause, everybody?
Thanks.
Gary hates speed bumps also.
Yes, very true. Actually, when he said it, I drew it. I'm like,
So
you
you're
know what
talking the grooves that are cut into the street,
Well,
right?
some of them, when you get to the toll booth, they have the little mini speed bumps. They might have 6 or 8 of them. But what he's talking about, there is a machine that grinds downwards instead of upwards to get those. That's usually to let you know there's a stop sign or a curve or something ahead. That's not going to really slow down traffic. We've looked at those before, but like I said, I just drew the picture of what he was talking about. But
I know the highway that uses them.
Yeah,
It seems
yeah.
like when you're pulling up, I'm on the highways a lot lately. When you're pulling up on a construction zone, they hit you real quick, like zzz, 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 when you're getting up, and it's grooved into the road.
Right.
So I'm sure that's what the gentleman's talking about.
yes, that's what he's talking about.
Yeah, and you're saying that if we did that, it wouldn't slow them down. People
No,
would figure it
it's
out.
not going to. It's mainly more for caution. Like you said, construction, toll booth, curbs, stuff like that.
See, this is, and I know, okay, so we're one end of the scale where we have a problem with speeders, and it's consistent, okay? And then the other end of the scale is when you're in Chicago and you get underneath the Skyway and you're going towards the east side, and they got that one street with Indianapolis Boulevard, and they got the speed camera, and you want to go 80, but everybody's going 30 miles exactly. That's the other end of the world. And if you go 33 miles an hour, you get a ticket from the city of Chicago. Obviously, their speed is a lot lower, but the residents hate that as well because they're getting tickets in the mail, and they don't even get the pleasure of being pulled over. So there's two different worlds. I guess we need to find that happy medium, and I agree, the speed's too high right now. And our cops are busy. I'm not throwing the police department under the bus at all, So I'm glad that Jeff's here to hear it, and I'm sure Jeff's going to talk to Captain Bunner. Is he in the audience? He usually is. I don't think he's here right now. But I also see Scott, Sergeant Scott out there, and I know that he's going to take this back, and Sergeant Kelly is out there, and they're hearing what's going on. Captain Alcox is out there. So it's good that you guys are bringing this up, okay? And writing it down on paper is handy also, because Jeff is going to get a copy of that, and he's going to take it back to the police department with him. So any other? All right, let's move on to the next question, Eileen.
Can you give an update on Kennedy Avenue construction and measures to mitigate long backups on a one-lane road
Yeah.
when long, slow trains are at the southeast northwest track?
Yeah, it's painful. I mean, and while we're at it, I'm going to pass off. Mark Gordis is here representing the engineering department. And I also want to say that Holman is painful also. No doubt about it. We're going through the growing pains of an improving area. It's going to be gorgeous once it's done. And in the meantime, it's a pain in the butt. I acknowledge it. It's one-way traffic. It's construction cranes everywhere. Downtown Hammond is absolutely tore apart. If you haven't been there, it is a construction zone. Mark, could you give us an update on Kennedy and on Holman, if you don't mind? This is Mark Gordis, Hessville's very own. So.
Yes. The original plan was to have it completed by the end of the year, but we ran into some issues being AT&T duct was damaged. So that actually took about 2 months longer. Then we found some bad sewers, so we had to replace them, which is typical construction issues. So it is going to winter over, and it should be done sometime early summer. So our thought was to have them do two-way traffic. The lane's going to switch over probably Friday to the southbound or northbound lane will switch. And at the start of this project, NIPSCO has been doing a large upgrade throughout the city, north-south, Woodmar upgrade, and this is pretty much of a Hessville upgrade. They're going to come in and redo that pole line on the west side. Then they're going to continue down south and do the same thing to the Borman. So that's about a 6-week duration. So that will be closed for that particular time. Then when we get a chance to open it, there's another paving project we have in the area. So we're going to use those millings, put them in the front between the center, and also have traffic both ways, north and south. Cross traffic won't come in from the the perpendicular streets. So because there's been issues with people driving the wrong way there. So we're going to keep it safe. And the brickwork, half the street's done. Basically what you see on the east side is going to be mirrored on the west side. So that'll be done. And tomorrow there's going to probably be, the idea was to have a couple stop signs at the raised intersection because it's difficult. The speed limit's 35 miles an hour right now. We may have to lower it. To hit that at 35 miles an hour, it's rough. I drove it the other day. So we're going to ask the Board of Public Works tomorrow for the stop signs. We switched over, and next week NIPSCO will come in to get their work done, then we'll open at the both
So
way
is the
traffic.
project on track?
Well, there's been a few snafus, but as best as we could. I mean, we had a duration of about 6-7 weeks for the issue with AT&T. They weren't quick.
Okay. All right. So anyway, with the, hi.
Except, what are you going to do to mitigate the situation when you've got a long, slow freight train coming through Hessville and you've got one lane now to deal with, and nobody's going to be able to turn left and get away from it because you're going to roadblock everybody. I have seen the backups all the way back to Lindy's Hardware at this point in time.
All right. I was in it the other day, and ma'am, there's nothing we can do about trains.
Then why have you created this mess, making 4 lanes go into just 2 lanes, and only for a short little distance as well? You're killing business, whatever little business that is left, and it's dead. Hessville is dead. What are you going to do about that?
We're in the process of doing it, ma'am.
What?
We're putting millions of dollars of investment into the infrastructure in Hessville.
bricks on the sidewalk. That's really gonna bring business in and really
Nice
gonna
talking
bring
to you, ma'am. You're
people
real
in.
pleasant. You're real pleasant. I appreciate you coming out tonight.
I'm trying to be as pleasant as I possibly
It's not working very
can.
well.
You don't get it. You really don't get it. You have tried to solve a problem that does not exist.
Okay.
And you're
Thank
gonna
you.
make, and it's made it worse.
Okay, thanks for the question. Yeah. Yeah, want to talk? Sure.
On the Kennedy Avenue issue, yes. Reducing it from 4 lanes to 2 lanes is not helping anything. It's a pretty busy street.
It's going to be 2 permanently, sir. And we
understand.
had 2 years of public meetings before this happened, and a huge amount of buy-in from the business community and the residents that spoke.
That's good, but traffic will, of necessity.
Well, we don't want
avoid-
traffic to go through Kennedy.
It's going to say it's going to avoid Kennedy.
Good.
And it's not going to help business then.
No, it's going to help business, sir, because
Okay.
the reason business struggles is because traffic's going 50 miles an hour through Kennedy, sir.
Oh, no, speed limit's not that.
Suicide.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's been a lot of thought. This wasn't Mayor Tom that just came out and said, hey, this is a great idea. There was 2 years worth of public meetings with elected officials and the business community. Everything was, we had public meetings. So you're a little late, all due respect. I mean, we had these meetings and we talked through these issues and we took community input for 2 years. And being honest with you, I don't want through traffic on Kennedy. That's what's killing Kennedy. We want shoppers on Kennedy. We want people that want to go to your businesses on Kennedy. We want to give them parking so that they can park and walk into your business and not get killed on the street on Kennedy. It's much of the same problem facing downtown Hammond. And we invested millions of dollars in this vision, and it's painful right now, I acknowledge, but this is the long-term answer. And this isn't, I know you guys probably know a lot more than Jeff Speck, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but this guy's a famous planner. And he looked at our city, and he gave us recommendations, and we implemented them. This guy's a planner that plans big urban cities, and he's working for the city of Hammond. And so.
When I finally did see the plan online, it calls for diagonal parking, which is probably one of the most dangerous kinds of parking that there is, because try to back out from a diagonal space, and then you've got oncoming traffic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
So Mayor,
it really is not going to be workable. Well, it's going to be very, very difficult, okay?
Okay.
if I could just,
I
Mayor,
have a question about an alternative.
Ma'am?
Right now, we have to take 165th Street to get around, if we're going east or west or whatever. 165th Street between Kennedy Avenue and Grand is really bad shape.
Right.
Is there a plan, and if so, give me a date for repaving it?
Okay. Mark?
Yes, back to Kennedy, there's not going to be any diagonal parking, it's going to be parallel parking.
Downtown Hammond has a diagonal parking, ma'am.
Correct. We did try to get that through one of our community crossing grants, but it was too much money. Community crossing grants are basically 50-50, up to $1 million that the state provides. And we're gonna,
Get what through your community?
that particular section through.
165th?
Yes.
Okay.
That was done last year with 165th further between Columbia and the Boulevard or Summer Street. That was in the same
I'm sorry you're upset.
application,
No.
but we couldn't get that one, that's all.
I'm sorry you're upset, ma'am. We're trying to do our best. We're investing money. We want to help rejuvenate Hussville. The idea is, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful to anybody, you know, we don't want that fast traffic. The shortcut from East Chicago to Highland or the shortcut from Highland to East Chicago, that traffic is killing downtown Hussville. When we're trying to get that traffic to go on to Klein or to go on the Boulevard to get off of Kennedy Avenue. The same thing we're trying to do in downtown Hammond with the same types of issues from North Hammond going to Munster. They fly through downtown Hammond.
I traverse all the routes that you're talking
Thank
about,
you.
and Indianapolis Boulevard is really busy.
Yes, it is.
It was busy before, and it's busy,
I agree
busier
with you, ma'am.
now.
I live off the Boulevard. I agree with you.
Right, right.
I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I apologize if I came off the
No,
wrong
you're
way.
not.
Good.
You're
I do
fine.
apologize. I shouldn't be like that. Okay?
You're fine, I'm just
Thank you.
frustrated.
I know you
with
are,
this
ma'am. I'm sorry.
idea.
I want you to know we want this to be really nice when it's done. That's our goal. That's why we're doing it. I'm not trying to be disrespectful to you, the gentleman. If you're concerned, it's my job to take care of it. And I apologize if I came
Can
off the
I
wrong
add
way.
one more thing about Kennedy Avenue? Please, can you fix the intersection with 169th? It is so rough.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, it's been, I mean, you've had the roads paved, but the intersection remains just a landmine. I mean, it's full of landmine holes. It's just terrible.
I'm sorry that you feel, and I know, Phil, you wanted to jump in and ask you.
Yeah, I grew up in Hessville, so I know it pretty well. I used to be president of the Hessville Business Association, so I know a lot of the business owners there. They call me when they're upset about the construction. However, majority of the business owners I've talked to are excited about the future of Hessville, that we're slowing down traffic, that we're making it more livable, more walkable. If you look at any downtowns across Northwest Indiana, Highland, Griffith, Crown Point, Valparaiso, they're all one lane. And they slow down traffic because otherwise you just become this drag strip, that you're driving through, and you don't stop and visit any of the businesses that are there. So the business owners I have spoken to in Hessville, yes, the construction has been a pain for them, but they also see the light at the end of the tunnel, and they're excited about it.
Sir?
Mr. Mayor, I
Yes, sir.
brought up an issue last September when we had this meeting here about all the truck traffic that's on Kennedy Avenue. Now, by city ordinance, Kennedy Avenue is not a thorough truck, but you'll see tons of semis,
Yeah.
steel haulers, dump trucks using even that one lane. So what's the city plan to stop the trucks going down that one lane when it's all constructed, all that nice brickwork?
Mhm.
What's going to stop that?
Right, and
I mean, I've talked to several police about this. They're coming right off the boulevard. They're using 169.
I live right over there, sir. I know exactly what you're talking about.
What are we doing about it?
Well, right
Are
now,
we
you have to
enforcing
keep
it?
in mind that right now it's a little weird with the highway being shut down the way it
But
is.
that's not an excuse then. No, where it's construction.
So,
I
I hate semis, sir, but I think it is an excuse, because if a truck is trying to get on
So
89.
you're allowing they could break the
Can you
law?
let me talk? So
You're
like,
not letting me talk. Are they allowed to break the law?
no, they're
Well,
not
it's
allowed to
an
break the law.
ordinance. Right here, here's the ordinance.
Mhm. I agree,
Okay,
but if
who's
you're,
enforcing that?
if you're gonna get on 8094 and it's suddenly shut down, which happened to
That's
all
the
of
way it
us.
goes.
What do you do if you're a truck? They do U-turns and they try to get out of there, right? And they're not supposed to, but I've run into those dead ends so many times myself. Believe me, I hate semis. I'm the one that's calling up the police all the time
But they're
complaining.
tearing up our streets.
I agree with you, sir.
Okay,
That's why I hate them.
Well, I agree, but all this
Well, you know,
federal
I mean,
tax dollars.
how about
are being
this, bigger
spent.
picture? These are the trucks that used to be on Client Avenue, and then when they shut Client Avenue down, now we have to deal with it, and I get yelled at. Instead of what the real culprit is the state of Indiana shut down, and now you have to pay $5 to go through there. So semi drivers don't want to pay $5, so they drive on our street.
pictures where they're parked dump
All right.
trucks at Burger King at 169th. They don't care. You got no trucks, signs, all that. They don't care, just like a
I
speed
agree.
limit sign.
I agree.
But I know the resources of Hammond is tight to give out tickets and stuff, but they don't care. And you're spending millions of dollars for this project.
Mhm.
Federal dollars, our dollars.
Yes, sir.
And the city contributes, I understand.
Mm-hmm.
But what's gonna stop when all that nice brickwork, the curbs being smashed, you see these big 53-footers making the turn on Kennedy and Burger King, going right over the curbs? They don't care, because they have to make the delivery. And the construction work, it doesn't give them permission. If I get stuck, I'm just gonna go on the wrong side, because I wanna get around this traffic.
Mhm.
But that's the excuse you're giving them.
I'm not giving
Well,
any
the
excuse. I'm
construction-
telling you that I don't like it either, but
What-
it's hard.
What about the ordinance then? The
Okay.
law?
Yeah.
We
Jeff,
pass all
could you
these
answer this?
laws.
Mayor, I can tell you with 100% certainty, we've talked to him a few times about this. We've wrote hundreds of tickets, and I do mean hundreds. There was a week or 10 days, some 2 months back, that we wrote 160 some tickets in like 4 days. So I understand it's a problem, but I also understand that it's not going away, so it's a constant problem. So I do believe we do the best we can, but until the highways are fixed, because that is an issue, there's 100% that's an issue. I don't know what we do
I
except
agree
just-
with you. And listen, I hate semis just as much as you do, sir, if not more. I hate semis and trains. And I've made, and I do understand when the highway's in the condition it was, though. What do you do if you're a truck and you're supposed to get on and you're like, what the hell do I do now? The highway, I did it a couple times myself, and I'm the mayor. I'm
I
like,
got a
what?
picture of a truck parked right in front of my house.
I'm sure you do, sir. I'm
They
sure.
don't care, that's a residential street.
Sir, I understand what you're saying, but
You know what I mean? They don't care.
and I understand you're frustrated, but I want you to keep in mind, we care, and we're doing the best we can, but we have a city to patrol, and we're out there at least a couple hours a day writing tickets. And if that's stopped, I will make sure that starts again, but it is an issue, we're aware of it.
Maybe we
and
should let Patrol know the mayor's getting his ass ripped at Mayor's
I
Night
will
Out,
do that
and-
for sure, yes.
Mhm.
I mean, a lot of people would agree.
I agree with you, sir. I agree. We're on the same page here. Somehow I'm being painted as the bad guy that loves semis, and that's not the case at all.
I'm not saying this because he's here. The mayor calls us all the time
I
about
do.
trucks, all the time.
There's
That's a
pet
fact.
peeves of mine, trucks, trains, and people that are panhandling on our streets. I call the police department multiple times a week because these are pet peeves of mine, sir. Good, thank you. And we're on the same team, sir, and I know you're frustrated, okay? We're on the same team, I promise you.
Okay.
I was a little kid, could I say something real quick?
Yeah.
I grew up in the same house I live at right now, okay? I remember what Indianapolis Boulevard used to look like when I was a kid, and it's night and day different.
I grew up in Hessel too.
Yes, sir. Okay, so we're on the same page. It's
Right.
it's a major highway with
But the question
semi-traffic.
I have, okay, truck route, designated truck route is from the Boulevard to 165th, north on Kennedy. Now, they extended that reconstruction, that one block to 164th Place by Freddy's Steakhouse. Is that still gonna be a designated truck route?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, that one block. You know, the turnoff,
Yeah, I remember you brought this
that
up before.
nice road.
And I remember Dean
Yeah,
was.
remember? I brought
And
that up
Dean's,
a year ago.
Dean has COVID right now. I wish Dean was here right now. Mark, do you know anything about that?
Yes, I do. Actually, we were throwing ideas back and forth. We would just have to find another through traffic or through truck route to get them around that particular area. But I do agree with you. When this project came up, I know where it is. South of there, that particular area, 65th, it's not going to be a through truck route where it's going to go over to Brick. Now, we do have local truck routes throughout the area. And another issue is probably because of the eastbound Borman was closed and with trucks going down. I live off of Orchard. I see trucks driving down there all the time when it's backed up. So it's unfortunate, but that should be taken care of in approximately 2 weeks if everything goes well with NDOT.
Okay, thank you for the question, sir. Any other follow-ups on this? Hi, sir. Give me a second. How you doing?
Pretty good, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks for coming.
About the semis, I live on a 7200 block of Southeastern.
Uh-huh.
And no matter what time of day or night, we've got semis going east and west on 173rd and north and south on Southeastern. And both those streets are no truck lanes. I'm trying to figure out how we can stop that. I know we got construction and it's a quicker route from those warehouses off 165th that just shoot down Southeastern, avoid the lights on the boulevard. But all that does is tear up our roads. Our roads at Southeastern is not made for a 40, 80,000 pound truck to go down.
You're right.
We need that stuff taken care of.
Okay.
And all the racing that goes down Southeastern also.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Hi, Ms. Jackson. Hi, Eileen, Representative.
Thank you. I just wanted you all to know that we understand the issues, we understand the problems. I received a call today from several constituents, as you all may or may not know. Due to the redistricting, I also represent one precinct in East Chicago, Roxana. They too have the same issues, which is the trucks getting off the highway, going down the streets, tearing up the streets, etc. I did send a message today to NDOT to address the issue. So once I find out what they can do to prevent this from happening, so that they can at least put up a sign or something on the highway so that these trucks won't get off the highway and won't be driving down our streets tearing them up, then hopefully that will be eliminated. But the problem is starting with the reconstruction of the highways, I-65, 80, 94. And these trucks are looking for an alternate route in order to get to where they have to go, not caring, avoiding the the fact that there is a sign there that states this is a no truck lane, or no truck street, or whatever. So I assure you that I am working on that to try to prevent them from even getting off the highway. So hopefully that will ease up, if not eliminate, a lot of that problem.
Carolyn, also okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Representative. You know, I appreciate all the recommendations on this issue. I could assure you that I'm gonna be talking to the police department about this first thing in the morning. And then I'm putting together a task force so we could properly sign the Gary, you were gonna say that?
Something she said, I texted to Jeff. You saw it, Jeff? I, a few years back, noticed there were no truck signs on 8094. So we got hold of Indianapolis and they told us no. They wouldn't put the truck signs up there to inform the semis Kennedy Avenue is not a truck route. So when they get off, they're a little upset too. I'm not taking their side, but they get off and the first thing they see is a no truck sign that I put up.
Gotcha.
So they start to panic. Well,
Right.
the first stoplight's 73rd. They're going to try to get back to 94.
Well, I've seen,
So
yeah.
it starts in Indianapolis and they won't help us. I tried.
Well, I'm gonna put Representative Jackson on that task force as well as you, Gary. We're gonna get on this as soon as we get back, as soon as we get back to City Hall, we'll start making progress on this issue. And we'll make sure that the truck route is well signed, and then the officers are gonna have to do a better job of making sure that if trucks get off of this well-signed route, they're gonna get pulled over for it. I appreciate, that's what Mayor's Night is all about. When I face the heat, we gotta react, so, and I'm sorry that, we reacted in this case. But I see it also, not arguing with you guys, I see it with my own eyes. They're going down my block also, so anyway, we'll go ahead and next question.
Will the new bridge in Hessville solve the problem of kids hopping trains at Grand Avenue Crossing, walking
Could
to and from
you do
school?
that first part again? I missed it.
Oh, sorry. Will the new bridge in Hessville solve the problem of kids hopping trains at Grand Avenue Crossing, walking to and from school when trains are parked?
It will if they take the longer route. I know probably what this question's trying to get at is we could do something closer to the trains that are stopped over there, but this route will be more for people that drive their kids to school. We'll be able to get to school and from school without having to stop at the stop train. Kids they can walk over the bridge and get around it, but it's gonna be a longer route for them. And I imagine not many kids are into walking a mile longer. So, hey Ken, what's going on?
Oh, fine, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks for coming out.
That actual alternative route, as the bridge designed, is going to be a 2-mile walk for
Right.
kids.
Okay, it's 2 miles,
from
thank you.
Scott
I acknowledge,
and-
you're probably right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
I'm sure you are,
obsessed
Ken.
and
I don't doubt
measure
that
it.
you're right, yeah.
And so it doesn't solve that issue at all.
I had a feeling it was your question, I'll be honest
Yeah.
with you. But I agree, I acknowledge, Ken, that if there was something right there, it would help the kids that are walking to school get over, and that's something we probably should look at.
And that's why I
I knew it was
a
your
lot of us
question.
believe that an underpass at that area should be the way to solve the problem instead of destroying our woods.
I know you do,
and
I
everything.
appreciate that. I
Okay.
appreciate you. Ken, you know that, right? I do. I respect you. I respect your passion. I'm not mad. I know you're not happy with my decision. I just want you to know that, okay? I mean, Hammond needs people like you. We really do.
One other question, and I heard you talking about the Kennedy Avenue project and how it had so many public vettings. We've never had a proper public vetting for this bridge project, never. And it has, and it changes the entire town, and it's over $12 million. So you would think that, a great notification and everything, we would have a real public vetting about that. I haven't seen it, and none of the Hessville residents have.
Okay. I don't really agree with that, Ken. I remember doing a public meeting in, I want to say it was Scott Middle School, and there was hundreds of people there, and we were
Sir,
going
that was
through-
not a public vetting, that was Mayor's Night Out, and nobody really got a chance to talk.
I remember getting my butt kicked at that meeting.
Well, that's not a question and answer session in a proper public vetting. You're supposed to inform everybody
And then-
on the issues and not just, get
not trying to
shouted
interrupt.
down or whatever.
I wasn't
happens,
shouting down, Ken.
I'm not saying that sometimes you got shouted down. I'm
Oh,
saying
sure, okay.
It wasn't a proper public vetting.
And
Public
then-
vetting is a
okay.
little different than that.
Okay, and I acknowledge that, okay. I mean, I'm listening to you. And then we followed it up and we identified a target area, and I know you weren't thrilled with our target area, but this is consistent with other public surveys that we did. We figure out who's really affected by this. And in this case, if I remember the parameters, we went from this Klein Avenue Service Road to Kennedy, and we went from the sound wall at the south all the way to 65th. Or is it 69th or 65th to the north? It might have been 69th to the north. And I don't think it went to 65th.
You went to 65th on the
Oh, we
north,
did.
and it went to Grand Avenue, which excluded all the schools and all the people who live next to the schools. All the schools.
I thought we
were-
went to the, okay.
It was Grand Avenue. Anything east of Grand was not included. And then, you know, of course, all the flood victims are north of 165th, and we thought that was kind of odd that they
Well, I
were
can
all
tell you
excluded as
honestly,
well.
I wasn't excluding anybody. I wanted to know how everybody felt. And what we did when we did Boy Scout Road, and this is off topic, okay? But in Boy Scout Road, there was people upset when we defined that area because we didn't let Robertsdale vote on that. And Robertsdale was pissed about that because they were like, hey, I use Boy Scout Road, I want to vote on this issue. But we've determined that the people most affected by that closure were in North Hammond, and we only pulled North Hammond, which is similar to what we did in Hessville, Ken. And that did come back overwhelming, though, it did.
Excuse me, Mayor. 5,000 surveys went out.
Yeah.
Only 540 came back.
Yeah.
That is 10.4% response rate. And when you finally asked one question on that survey that actually pertained to anything, you only got a 48% fully in favor response. And that's 200 and some odd people out of the 5,000 surveys that were sent out.
I don't remember
We
the
have
score.
never had a proper public vetting. That survey, I'm sorry, Mayor, all due respect, it was a scam.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Okay? It was a scam.
Okay. I don't
Played
necessarily
on
agree.
to
And
Hessville
I go back and say, I appreciate you. I appreciate your passion. I know how you feel on this issue. It's good to know that there's people like you out there because I think about you in a good way. I do, because I'm like, Ken, you know, is pushing hard. I know how you feel about this issue, and I respect your opinion. I do, okay? Councilman Scott, do you mind throwing your 2 cents into this? Councilman Scott's councilman of Hessville.
No, I probably think that's probably not a good idea
What's that?
for me to express my opinion, except for I'm 100%
Uh-huh.
for this bridge. In 2019, I ran for reelection based on the bridge coming to Hessville to alleviate train traffic.
Mhm.
Anybody that's been in Hessville since there's been cars has run into train problems. We're known as Train City in Hessville. I ran on this because I helped the project along when we were doing the studies. I also had a meeting 2 weeks after the election on May 2019. Nobody showed up. I don't know how.
Do you remember the public meeting was Mayor's Night Out? I remembered it as a public meeting, but
The,
it might have.
the public meeting was Mayor's Night Out, where a group
But it
of-
was the topic of the day, though. It was really all we talked about.
Yes, for
Right.
2 hours.
2 hours, right?
Yes.
Lots of people.
Yeah, I didn't get.
And
we didn't get a
by the
chance
way,
to-
Ken, you have a significant number of people that agree with you, by the way. I'm not saying that you're the Lone Ranger on this issue, so. Okay, I just wanted the crowd to know, in this project, it's around a $11 million project. State of Indiana is putting in around $8 million. These are round numbers. And City of Hammond's putting in $3 million to permanently take care of stop train problem in Hessville. And so Indiana's paying most of this. And by the way, we had to go through a public vetting to get the money approved from the state of Indiana as well. So there's numerous opportunities we went, including Mayor's Night Out, including a survey. And, you know, if you feel like I did gerrymandered the survey district, I did not. I'm anti-gerrymandering for the record, so. Sure, Ken, no problem. No problem, Ken. Ken, it's all right, don't worry about it. Ken, it's okay.
Please, okay?
All right.
But the thing is, you just said, excuse me, you just said that it's this much money, and I'm sorry, I got interrupted.
Let me tell you, and I appreciate it. The number one complaint as your mayor that I receive outside of crime is the number one complaint, is trains. It's the truth. And out of the city, the biggest area where I get the most complaints about stop trains is Hessville. We do have stop train problems in other parts of the city, but it's pronounced in Hessville. And I put together a task force. I called the congressman. I had our senator. I went through a NERC process that lasted over a year, and we came up with this conclusion. There's nothing we could do about trains. Nothing the Hammond Police Department could do, nothing the Indiana State Police could do, nothing the deputy police could do, the sheriff's office, nothing that anybody could do except for our Congress, the Senate, and the United States President. That's it. They're more powerful than the state of Indiana, trains. If they stop in Hessville for 5 hours straight, there's not a damn thing I could do about it. Not a damn thing. Anybody that tells you otherwise is lying to you.
Excuse me,
So,
Mayor, that
hold
was
on.
never the question. That was never the- we know
Ken,
that trains are
Ken,
a problem.
Ken,
We
I'm-
agree with you.
Eileen, could you?
We always
could you-
agree with you on that.
I appreciate it. Okay, I let you talk a lot, Ken, so could I talk now? Okay. I have an opportunity to get cars over stop trains in Hessville permanently. And it'll cost the city of Hammond $3 million for a $12 million bridge. And I polled everybody, I talked to the elected officials, we went through this long process and we made a decision and you're not happy with it. And I get that, man. But like, we went through a long process to get here, Ken, and we're gonna do this, and I apologize, and if you're not gonna vote for me, I get that, because that's your recourse, and I don't, okay, all right, thank you. All right, hi, in the back, how you doing, sir?
Okay.
This is on the bridge, I take it?
No, well, it's somewhat on this topic.
Okay.
You did a fantastic, great job in announcing and advertising the Clarkfield housing development.
Yes, sir.
And you had an overflow crowd.
Mm-hmm.
Is that now the standard? So that when you do have other public meetings, you're
Well, we
going to
do. That's what we do. I mean, if I'm in
That
a,
was the first time I've seen that.
oh no, we do it a lot.
And the crowd was, you know,
It was
proof
great.
of it.
We're gonna do another one.
No, I mean throughout the city. Not
No,
just
we do these often, sir.
Okay.
Sometimes it's in Mayor's Night Out, and it sounds like this one was in Mayor's Night Out, but when I'm facing a tough issue, I wanna know how the residents feel. And I'm not saying that that's the answer, though. Like, even if 51% of the residents say we don't agree with this, sometimes you have to make tough decisions as mayor if you think you're doing the right thing for your city. And I appreciate Ken's point of view is you're gonna wipe out a natural area, one that he appreciates particularly. And not just him and dozens of people appreciate this area, and they feel that it's gonna be a permanent injury to Hessville. And he's right, it will be a permanent injury to those woods, I get it. And I respect him for that. And that's the thing that's tough about my job is sometimes you still have to make moves knowing that Ken's not gonna be happy. But because I think it's the right thing for Hammond, not because I don't like Ken, not because I hate trees, because I think this is the answer to the number one complaint I get from Hessville residents. And I respect Ken and his passion. That's why I've said it like 5 times today. But sometimes you have to do something even though, you know, people like Ken are gonna be upset. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'm Linda Anguiano.
Yes.
And I grew up in Hessville.
Mm-hmm.
And I played in the woods, which now are covered by Morton and by Scott Middle School. I'm about 20 years older than you, so I've seen a lot of destruction of natural habitat. It's affected the noise, it's affected the pollution, and we have so much more traffic now on Klein. When my family moved there, Klein was under construction. We didn't have all the traffic on 8094. And so I want to ask you, as you said, there's a lot of people more than Ken. At last count, there was over 600 people that signed a petition. So it's not just dozens and dozens, it's hundreds. And I would like to ask you, would you be willing to do a vetting? I called Indiana Department of Transportation, and they told me this was special funding, and they had to find out from this person, blah, blah, blah. It wasn't a normal infrastructure funding. So I would like to ask you if you would be willing to do a real vetting, to publicize it, to have it in the evenings when working people can come and just see what the reaction is and see how they feel to some alternative solutions, such as an underground pass
I
under the
appreciate it.
trains.
And I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but no, I would not be, because this decision was made. We're in a process. We're having our bridge paid for by the state of Indiana. It's going to solve the number one issue facing Hessville. Well, if I'm wrong, I'm probably going to lose my job, okay? But I think I'm right, and I'm determined to do the right thing, and I think this is the right thing. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but if I got second guessed after years of going down the path, like, you know, and then all of a sudden somebody in year 4 or year 5 is like, hey, I don't like this plan, let's go back to the drawing board, we'd never get anything done.
But only 1% of the 5,000, only 1% was
Well,
fully.
I don't know if that's true or not, being honest.
My name is Linda, not ma'am. And also,
I'm sorry, ma'am. That's what I say to people. I apologize if you're offended by me being respectful to you. So, but I already answered your question.
and most of
so.
the people in the area of Hessville did not receive one of those little cards with the biased questioning.
The bias questioning.
They're very
Okay.
biased questions.
Okay.
So I'm very unhappy with you.
I know you are.
And I'm wondering, I have a question that I wrote. I don't know if you get the answer, but have you
We will get
have
to
you
it.
groomed anybody to be your successor as mayor if
I groomed-
if you should win the Senate?
I am not going to answer that, because what I'm trying to do is take on a U.S. senator, and I do a good job. By the way, I think it's an honor for your mayor to be running for U.S. Senate and to be within the statistical dead heat with a U.S. senator. And if I'm successful and I beat this person, I promise you that the person that takes over from me is going to be very well qualified. And the residents of Hammond, if this happens the way we're talking about, the residents of Hammond within 1 year will have a decision to make on whether or not they like that person or not. But I remember when I ran for Congress, a lot of people in the city were speculating, and I hated it. That was the worst part, and I said, I'm never going to get into this game, because what I'm trying to do is, when I filed to run against Todd Young, he had $6 million in his campaign account, and I had nothing. He is completely corrupted by corporate PACs and special interests. So if I beat this guy, it's probably one of the biggest upsets in Indiana history, okay? So I'm not going to get into this game about what happens after you win. I'm just not going to do it. I think I'm doing a great job. I'm still, you know, your mayor. I'm still doing a good job as mayor, and I'm moonlighting as a candidate, and I got 3 more weeks of this, so I appreciate the question.
It wasn't a game me asking you that, so I'm not playing that game. You said I'm not going to play that game. I wasn't proposing it as a game to play.
Thank you. Appreciate it, ma'am. All right, let's go ahead and do the next question.
Why is it taking over 2 years to fix a sidewalk in front of my home? This is on the 7900 block of Northcott Avenue.
Okay, sure.
Yes, we do have a sidewalk program through the city of Hammond, and in the past, the councilmen have funded it with so much money when it allows. Then it went to the Capital Improvements Board, so the funding slowed down during COVID year. And also, there's so many sidewalks out there, it's incredible. There's 200.
Is she on the list, Mark? We don't need excuses. Is she on the list? 7900 block? I don't think she cares about the Capital Improvement Board. It's just if
Okay.
she's on the list.
Okay, we'll check to make sure she's on the list. So they go from the person at the top, then they go to the last person.
Yeah.
Electric wheelchairs and such like that. She fell twice. And it's a nice bit, it's up because of the trees that used to be in
Did you
front.
do anything with the city to turn it in?
Yes, it took over 2 years to get the trees that made the sidewalk go up, taken out. And now it's taken another 2 years for the sidewalks to be taken care of.
And so you did file something, you filed it through the council person or through my office, or?
I forgot who
Could you do me a
called.
favor, ma'am? Could you fill out a piece of paper with your name on it so we can follow it up?
Yes.
You did?
Yes, I did.
Awesome. Could you make sure I get a copy of that? We'll follow it up, okay? Thank you. Yeah, did you have any, I'm sorry, Mark. What's that? I can't. All right.
Also, on the 7900 block of Northcott Avenue, why are the alleys dirty and not being cleaned up? There's junk and food all over the place.
Jeff? That's your district? grab it.
Yeah, so as long as we get a ticket, we know about it, and tickets and click fixes go first. And then when we're done with that, we hit the areas. As long as there's tickets done, then we know about it and we can jump right on it.
So in this case, they have that one filled out also, right, Eileen? Could you make sure Jeff Rutherford gets a copy of that?
Absolutely.
That'll count as a ticket, right?
Yes, sir.
So we'll count that as a ticket. You don't have to worry about following it up. We'll get Jeff Rutherford, who's in charge of that district, we'll get him a copy of that ticket, so.
When can we expect the 167th Street between Southeastern and Osborne to be redone? The street has many potholes and very few curbs.
If I were that person, I would probably make sure my council person was on board with me, because I know the council people go to the Capital Improvement Board meetings. Now, Capital Improvement Board grades each street and makes determinations like this about which street's gonna go first based on the amount of funding we have. So, you know, I couldn't sit here and say, yeah, it's gonna be next year, because we have a process that we follow. We go through the Capital Improvement Board, we have people that sit on that board and they grade it and they rate it, and then they find out how much money is available, and then they make decisions. So I use that street a lot, by the way. It's one of the streets I bike on, so I know exactly what you're talking about. But if I was that person, I would give a copy of that to the council person, who sounds like Councilman Dave in that case. That's your district, right, Dave? Yeah, that was the one area that we're gonna go. Okay. All right. All right.
There is concerns regarding issues of out-of-state plates.
Always. Yeah. Yeah. Hi. Hi, Effie.
My first council meeting here, so Mayor's Night Out.
Mayor's Night Out?
Yeah, be gentle.
You're getting
be
a
gentle.
doozy
Okay,
for the
yeah.
first one, yeah.
Yeah, big issue. I know you guys hate talking about this. I've just recently.
Almost every Mayor's Night Out, this comes up, so.
It's, I just recently contacted with Captain Alcox. We emailed back and forth the past few days. But before that, I was dealing with Tomadowski, loved him, and then Newman, they retired. So I'm in the 3rd District. Love my Councilman Barry, by the way. He's awesome. I have been communicating with him too about the issue, other police officers. I recently just had residential parking signs
Look at you.
also installed on the 162nd Place.
That's not very common, so good job.
I know. Thank
Yeah.
you, thank you. So my problem is I want to say maybe at least 60% on 162nd Place, they're rental homes. So the officer comes, checks the out-of-state plate, can't do the proof of residency because they're not on the lease. So, you know, Tom, Dick, and Harry is living there. You know, they're not on the lease. The officer can't do the proof of residency. So now we're at a crossroads.
Okay.
So I talked about this with Barry this past summer about actually trying, and another officer brought it to my attention, about trying to pass an ordinance to hold the landlords responsible for something like this, because once again, these landlords don't know who's living in their houses. They don't come and inspect the properties. I've reported these rental houses to code enforcement for whatever issues, and I've got them anywhere from 6 months to 2 years living on my block.
Okay, let me, so this is Corporate Counsel Kevin Smith, and then I want Nick Farrell, who's the head of code enforcement, to pick up next, so.
So just a couple things that we do with landlords if they become problems. We have the ability to declare them a nuisance, and so if there are multiple calls, usually the PD or police department, and Chief Long and Chief Short will let us know, or Kelly Kearney, Nick Farrell will get a hold of the law department, and we will immediately, these letters go out weekly, let them know that they're on our radar, and if they continue to have problems at those residences, at those, you know, with their tenants, that we'll declare them a nuisance, cite them for that, and bring them in. So I think what you're doing, which is reporting them to inspections, reporting them to the police department, is the right thing to do, because that makes a record, and then if it becomes a significant problem, which it sounds like it may be in your neighborhood, then the police will let the law department know, and we'll get the letters out, and we'll let inspections know, and then they're on the radar, and we start enforcing. The other thing that we do is, of course, require rental registration every year. And the mayor fought very, very long and hard, all the way up to the Supreme Court, to make sure that the city can enforce our rental registration ordinance. We didn't win the whole battle, I should say we didn't win the whole war, but we won a very good battle, and that was that they allowed our ordinance to stay in place. And that means that they can be fined up to $500 per unit if they don't register, and it also allows us to have a record of the tenants there. And so the police department can enforce that so that if people are living there that are not listed as tenants, then potentially we can, again, take issue with the landlord. So there are solutions. You know, it is private property, so we have to respect that, but we do have some enforcement mechanisms that can help.
And, you know, I like, for example, my mom lives on Detroit Street. Back then, that was the shit of the street to grow up on. Kids playing outside, it was wonderful. Now, she's afraid to open up her front door. Rentals, out-of-state plates, drug activity. I do what I can. I report it to officers that I know that deal with those departments, you know, because I do know quite a few people, especially my job. I've met quite a few people. I also work in the community. You know, I work at Doug Paris's barbershop for 23 years. And,
He's
you
a
know,
great guy.
Yeah, he is a great
I love
guy.
Doug.
I love Doug too. You know, Hammond High grad. I've been a Hammond resident all my life.
Ma'am,
And
you
I
know,
wanna-
you could always call my office too. It's totally anonymous. If you couldn't get a hold of somebody in PD and you wanted to, I would pass it right to PD. So anybody out there has that option, you know, so.
You know, I'm not a Karen. I'm just a Neffy.
I know,
You know,
no.
I care about my community.
Thank you.
You know, and I want to make a difference. I
I
really
think
do.
everybody sitting in Mayor's Night Out cares about their
Yeah,
community.
and I'm a
so.
pretty persistent woman. I don't give
Good,
up that easy.
good.
So
Mayor's Night Out is scheduled a year in advance, so you know where I'm going to be.
Thank
So,
you.
Nick, could you jump in? Nick's the head of code enforcement.
Yeah, how you doing, Effie? All right. Yeah, so Effie's familiar with the policies and procedures that we work with. With vehicles when they're parked on the street, obviously you're doing the right thing by contacting law enforcement. They have the ability to run the plates, VIN, verify who's registered for the property or for the vehicle. If it's a matter of over occupancy, that you're concerned with, there's a maximum of 2 people per habitable room. At any point, if there's multiple vehicles on the actual private property, we'll send the inspector right out. We'll obtain the photographs we need to effect an inspection, and then the owner is going to have to be held responsible for that over occupancy. They have 60 days to update their plates. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Sometimes it's a matter of proving the vehicle belongs to that property, or if it's a kid who's using their parents' car. We have to make sure that we're being fair and just in the way we handle everybody. Anytime there's an issue, contacting PD helps us as well, because then that makes it a matter of record, right? We get the calls for service, then that helps support our action that we needed to take to bring in compliance. Yep.
I've been doing that because that does show a record of the date
Correct.
that I put it on there.
Yep.
And with my OCD, I also keep my own personal logbook at home, from the reference number to the date I posted it to the comment I made, whatever, or somebody, acknowledged it. But I know that police officers' hands are tied almost, like I said, where this guy's been living there for 2 years in this rental property, but both his SUVs have Illinois plates.
Right.
And his kids are going to our school, and I've seen it, and it's not over occupancy, because I would have got him on that already,
Right.
trust
Oh,
me
yeah.
when I tell
Yeah.
you.
Okay.
It's so, I understand that sometimes, the officer's hands are tied, and I'm a pretty patient person, but after a while you get a little frustrated, because that's all I see when I drive around Hammond.
Right.
And it's,
I know we're actively searching out illegal apartments and using our Board of Works to eliminate basement, attic apartments that don't meet code. That has cut down on a lot of the overcrowding, in
because I know
certain
it's the
neighborhoods.
inspectors, isn't it the inspector for
Hey, could
each
you guys
district?
maybe continue this afterwards?
Oh,
I
I'm
feel like
sorry.
we're in a
I'm sorry.
conversation now.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll talk to you later.
Thank you. All right. Sometimes we get into the conversation part, and yeah. All right, let's go ahead and. Hey, I wanted to recognize 2 more elected officials that came in. Thanks, Councilman Scott Rakos from Hessville. Good to see you here, Councilman. And then North Township Advisory Board member and former Hammond City Judge Peter Kadick. Good to see you, Pete.
Last one. Issues on Highland Street, cars are being hit, there's extra traffic since the alleys and streets were closed off from 165th to Detroit Street. Residents need other alternative routes to lessen traffic coming down Highland.
Could you read that slower so I can picture it in my head? You were going through it real quick.
Issues on Highland Street, cars are being hit, extra traffic since there's since the alleys and streets were closed off from 165th to Detroit Street.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. We closed off, that was another public survey, funny enough, while we're here talking about surveys. We did a survey in that case. There were some people not happy about that one also. It was a proposal that the councilman wanted us to push forward that said, like we did south of 65th, where we built what was called the curb, and then it became a flood control barrier actually, but we blocked traffic from Illinois from shortcutting into basically from State Line onto Homan Avenue, saving that neighborhood down there. And then a couple years back, councilman of the 3rd District approached the city and asked if we would do the same thing north of 65th. And we made the boundaries on that one, Homan to the State Line, 65th to the south, to Highland on both sides, knowing that the residents at Highland were not going to love this plan because Highland is a different type of street. Highland's a collector, which means you could tell because it has a stop control signal on Homan Avenue. I've learned a lot, haven't I, Mark? Yes. Because they have a stoplight on Homan, it's called a collector, which is a different type of street. It's different than Detroit. Detroit's a skinnier street. Highland is actually a bigger street, built for more traffic. This is a fact. And so we knew when we sent those surveys out that the traffic would end up on Highland. And Highland was built for that traffic. So the only street we couldn't block off legally was Highland. So we blocked off Detroit, going all the way down to 165th. We did a survey, came back overwhelmingly positive to do it, and we went forward. By the way, when we do these surveys, they fail too. We've had a number of projects where we did the survey and it didn't pass. We just happened to be talking about 2 of them that did pass today. I did the boundaries on that because I know there was some sensitivity about the boundaries that we set, alleging maybe we gerrymandered the boundaries. On this one, Highland on both sides of the streets was included, and we knew full well that the residents at Highland weren't going to love this plan because the traffic was literally going to get shoved to that street. That doesn't change the question, though. The question is, there's increased traffic on my street, my cars are getting hit, is there something we can do about it? And I appreciate that question, and I want a copy of that one so I can follow this up with the engineer afterwards, okay? Because I could see where the questioner's coming from. I'm not sure who asked this question, but I definitely could see how that's happening. But that was how this all came about, and that was the decision that was made. And those eventually will be permanent barriers. Right now, they're temporary barriers, and they're ugly. They're going to be made permanent. So if anybody has a follow-up to that. Ma'am, did you want to ask a question on that? Sir, or ma'am? I can't tell. But yeah, ma'am. No? Okay. But that was the thought process that went into it, okay?
Okay, but just for the survey, I didn't think it was fair that had to happen because, say, like 90% was from Detroit to 165th, and us as Highland was only the 10%. So that wasn't fair, and that it didn't weigh itself.
I agree with you, ma'am.
So
we wanted to be fair, though, and include Highland, obviously. If I would have gone further north, they would have probably been in favor of it also, because the only street that we couldn't block off was Highland, ma'am, because it's a collector. So even if I wanted, I would have blocked off Highland if we could have. I'll be honest with you, because it would have helped Highland just like it's helping Detroit and all the other streets. Right. I would have blocked off Highland also. I don't hate Highland or the residents on Highland. We couldn't do that one because it's a collector. That's the only reason Highland stayed open, ma'am. So I'm really sorry. Yeah.
There's other alternatives for us.
What's that?
I hope there's other alternatives for us. So like you said, talk to your engineer.
I promise you. I'll follow it up.
All right, okay.
Okay.
All right.
Maybe we'll do something temporary where maybe we could like make the curb bigger so you could park up on the curb and get off the street a little more. I'm willing to do whatever we can to help you, okay? I can see where you're coming from, okay? And I appreciate the question. Could I get a copy of that one, Eileen?
Absolutely.
Myself, and I'll follow it up with Dean. I appreciate the question, ma'am. Any other questions? That's why I make the big bucks, right? That was sarcasm. Yes, sir.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I talked to Dave earlier today about the sidewalk. We need a sidewalk at a 7200 block of Southeastern, and Dave was saying something about that. He needed to talk to the residents about possibly having their trees removed. I was under the impression that from the street to where the sidewalk ends, it would be considered city property.
It's true.
then why do you need to talk to the residents to move the trees if they're in the way of that
We
the
don't need
sidewalk
to,
right away?
maybe the councilman was trying to be respectful, you know, because the residents get very sensitive about trees. I've had that issue also. Maybe that's where he was coming from, but let's let Dave answer.
I want to respond to a few of the questions I heard, and I'll get to yours in a minute, Bob. They're coming back to do sidewalks because they got cut short in the 5th District in the summertime, and they're coming back on the week of the 24th, and Northcott is on the list, okay? 167th Street in Southeastern, somebody asked about that, I believe. That is the dividing line between the 3rd and the 5th District, and we've had that in the works to get repaved for about 2 years, but the pandemic kind of took care of that. To address your question, Bob, it's a little bit more complicated than that, because if you look where the existing sidewalks are on 7100 Southeastern and you go a straight line down there, there are actual trees that would be where the sidewalk is going to go. And what the mayor said is correct too, that I'm not just going to go start randomly cutting down 50 and 60-year-old trees, and when somebody says, hey, what the hell are you doing? I'm going to say, oh, we're putting a sidewalk in, without talking to the residents first. There was one other, with the questions about the blue Mustang and the cars there. I've witnessed it myself.
That wasn't me, for the record.
It wasn't him, by the way.
It was not me.
That was the first person I called.
I wouldn't do that in Hammond, I promise.
But I have talked to Chief Long at one time, and also Captain Bunner, and the patrols are, it's not necessarily speeding. What your exact issue is they get under that expressway, they stop at that sign, and then they nail it. They nail it, and they either go right or straight down the road, yeah. And I've actually witnessed that myself, but I wasn't. Yeah. I'm lucky if my Jeep goes 40 miles an hour, so I couldn't chase the guy.
So you're literally across the street from the old Woodmar Country Club entrance, right?
Yeah, she's right on the corner.
Gotcha. No, I ride my bike. Thank you, ma'am. You're so sweet. Listen, this was a tough mayor's night out. I've had way easier ones, I'm not gonna lie, okay? But I want you to know that this is totally appropriate, even though there's passionate people that think I'm making a mistake. I hope I don't come off as rude. I'm not trying to. I'm trying to be as calm as I can. It's our job to take your complaints and follow through, and that's what we're doing. That's why we do this, okay? I don't know if we have any more written questions. I do want to thank everybody. Oh, sir, we'll do one last question from the audience.
The gentleman that just spoke about the 167th Street in Southeastern, and that's a boundary street then between 3rd and 5th Districts?
Yeah, just before the pandemic, it's between the 3rd and the 5th District. You're talking about that goes
East of there,
167 from Columbia all the way to Indianapolis Boulevard. On
yes, and
the
beyond.
south side of the street is the 5th, and on the north side of the street is the 6th. And Councilman Tyler and I, during the pandemic, when we had talked about getting together and redoing that street because of the Sportsplex and the YMCA and all that coming there.
Cemeteries and everything.
I'm not saying those plans are dead, but we're still working on a way to fund it between the little bit of gaming money we get and the Capital Improvements Board of trying to work together and get something worked out there.
So what about east of Indianapolis as well, onto Osborne?
Hey, could you guys talk about this after? Maybe it might be better, because I think it's really between the two of you. Okay. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. This is one of those conversations where I think it's better. All right. Thank you, everybody, for coming to Mayor's Night. It was a lovely meeting. I appreciate everybody. Next Mayor's Night. Oh, real quick, if you have anybody who wants to be a correction officer, literally, if they're thinking about becoming a Hammond police officer, we have great opportunities available, open jobs right now. Also, if you like working with animals, we have a kennel master position open in the city of Hammond as well. Great opportunities. Next Mayor's Night Out is Thursday, November 17th in the 4th District. Franco Bannon Elementary School, right down the street. See you on Thursday, November 17th. Thank you, everybody, for coming to Mayor's Night Out.